So we are live now.
Good morning, Facebook. Good morning. So we are live for our Know Your Business to Grow Your Business series. This is the next one focused directly on college students and college making a little extra funds. I want everyone, I have five panelists, and I'll be leaving pretty soon. But I always like to do this before we get started, is to have everyone pull out their phone and go make sure that you share the Omicron Upsilon Omega on your Facebook to make sure that everyone that you know in your contacts is following us. So, ladies on the panel, I'm going to ask you also to go to Omicron Upsilon Omega's Facebook page and hit share on your personal page, just so that we know there's some college kids out there getting some great information. So, I always like to start with that formality first. So, I want to first welcome everyone who is tuned in this morning to our latest series. If you've been following this series, it's been dynamic. The chair of the committee, Valerie Adams Baker, came up with this innovative way as we entered into the pandemic to share critical information and to reach our community through a live option. So we are currently live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can catch us there. I am Lisa Henderson Bennett, and I have the honor of being the president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Omicron Upsilon Omega's chapter here in Norwalk, Stanford. Today we have four panelists. Again, five panelists or four and a moderator. One of our members is an entrepreneur and a moderator. So I'm not going to belabor this. I will turn the panel over to the very capable hands. Please drop your questions in the chat. Please share with everyone in your network so that we have as many viewers as possible and we reach as many people as possible. So Conchita, without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you. Everyone enjoy your program.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you giving a welcome. Well, welcome. I'm so excited to be on a panel with all women and all boss women. So this is sort of cool. Not sort of cool. It's actually really, really cool. So I know all of you personally in one way or another. I've spoken with you or I've worked with you before. So I'm excited to be able to have a fun conversation that I would have with one of my girlfriends, but have it in front of the world on Facebook Live and be able to drop some gems and some knowledge to our viewers, especially our college students or soon to be college students, to talk a little bit about sort of how to finance your college experience, whether or not you're financing your tuition or you're financing your lifestyle while you're in college or preparing for your future when you're in college. So I'm excited to have this conversation and excited that we're wrapping up HBCU week with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated this week. So welcome. So
thank you for having us.
I want to give you all an opportunity to introduce yourselves. Like I said, I know all of you personally. I've worked with you, or I have a personal relationship with you. But I want the world to meet you all. So I'm going to start with Miss Ebony. If you can just give us a quick introduction, your name, what college you went to, and what you do as a career now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Conchita. And hello, everyone, all of the panelists and everyone viewing this morning. My name is Ebony Gordon, and I am a graduate of the Hampton University. And I currently own a hair salon, which is actually located on Hampton University's campus.
Wow. I didn't realize your hair salon was located on the Hampton University campus. That's nice. You get to have access to your clientele. Awesome. That makes it convenient.
Yes. Thank you.
Erin, next, can you do a quick introduction?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Piard. I'm a graduate of the University of Bridgeport. I currently work as a creative director of a full-service marketing agency, and I also own my own creative agency, PR Design.
Nice. Welcome, Erin. Benita, and you are on mute, so be sure to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Benita Jones. I'm a graduate of SUNY Westbury and Metropolitan College of New York. I currently am a professor and a college administrator at one of our state University of New York institutions. And thank you for having me. Look forward to communicating and speaking with all of you.
Welcome. Thank you, Benita. And then last but not least, the new kid on the block who's a recent college grad, Miss Giselle. Can you do a quick introduction?
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, as Conchita said, I just graduated from Howard University this past May. I'm currently a climate and energy analyst at an environmental research company here in California. And I'm also the founder of LifeHacks 101, which is my own startup, which is an online platform focused on life skills such as personal finances. So we're working on realizing that into reality very soon.
Nice. Well, welcome, Giselle. Thank you. Well, because today is the final day of our HBCU week, I wanted to take an opportunity to talk first to our two HBCU grads. Alpha Kappa Alpha just raised over $2 million to support HBCUs. So that was like a great feat. And we did it all in one day. And obviously, you know, we are supportive of it as a sorority to HBCUs. I wanted to talk to our two HBCU grads and give you an opportunity to talk about what made you choose HBCU for your college experience. Can you just kind of let us know, as like get us excited about HBCUs and what excited you when you were applying? And we could start with you, Giselle, since you're the newest HBCU grad.
Yeah, sure. So my experience was a bit different, I think, as an international student. So when I was choosing a school from the list, like in my head and the way how me and my friends spoke about it, Howard was just a good school. It was just a good option. And I think being international, we were kind of, well, particularly me, we were kind of insulated from like the biases and like certain arguments, you know, like PWI versus HBCUs. All I knew that it seemed like a good option. So that was all it was in my head, like just a good option. And yeah, I was really happy when I was admitted as well. And yeah, it was finally my opportunity of just bringing that dream of studying abroad my reality. So yeah, it meant a lot to me. So that's what my personal experience was like.
Nice. Ebony, can you talk about how you came to choose a HBCU?
Yes, and first I think I should give the disclaimer just in case you hear some noises in the background. I do have a little baby shark here that is she's just waking up, so she's having a good time. But yes, being a graduate of Hampton, I always knew that I wanted to go to an HBCU. My mother attended an HBCU. She went to St. Aug in North Carolina. And just always the stories that I would always hear her tell about her college experience and the long lasting friendship she had, I just thought it was just so cool. So she enrolled me in going on college tours pretty early on. I want to say from middle school throughout high school. So I went on tours of all of the HBCUs, honestly. And I just knew that it was the right fit for me. It was kind of funny though, because Howard was like my number one for the longest, and then Spelman. But I don't know, once I went to visit Hampton, it was just something that drew me there. I don't know if it was the water or the pretty ducks on campus, and just the culture. It was just so much love and camaraderie that I just felt just from stepping on campus. So, and definitely have a lot of pride being a graduate today. So
nice. Well, I know that when I was applying to college, and I won't say how long ago that was because it was only like, you know, a couple years ago. So when I was applying to college, there was a myth or a rumor that there was less funding available to students who were applying to HBCUs for college tuition, and that college was harder to finance if you chose to go to a HBCU. Is there any truth to that myth, Giselle and Ebony, as graduates of an HBCU? Is there any truth to that myth? Do you have any knowledge about, you know, the comparison of what the funding was like of a HBCU, your funding as a student at an HBCU versus a PWI?
So I can go first. So to be honest, in terms of I don't know about like the comparison, but I can speak to my personal experience. I went on what was practically a full ride scholarship, and I wouldn't have even have studied abroad at all if it wasn't for that scholarship. And everybody else I knew, including mostly other international students, were on some form of scholarship. So a number of people were on scholarships. So I would say there is a good number of funding. And also, I know Benita will probably speak to this soon as well. But even if you get some form of scholarship from any school or any sort of financial aid, and I think they didn't really teach us this when we were applying per se, but if it's not enough, you can actually write a letter of appeal to financial aid. That's what it's called. And you can reason with them and say and request more and explain why you need more to support yourself and say, well, I've passed this amount of standard and I have this SAT score, which is way above like the minimum required for this scholarship. So I think it would be fair if I got like this much more amount of financial aid to support me in university. So there is a lot of leeway in terms of what you can do as well in really making the case for yourself to get as much financial aid as possible. And there are absolutely financial aid resources and support at HBCUs, well, in particular at Howard, because I can speak for Howard.
And then Ebony.
I definitely think there are a lot of programs out there, especially for HBCUs. To be honest, I didn't really apply to many PWIs because I knew early on that I wanted to attend an HBCU, so I can't really speak too much on that experience. But from my personal experience, I was definitely able to tap into grants and different scholarship programs that were specifically for minorities. I don't think that they advertise or market them so much. Or maybe they do, but I do think that there's a lot of research that goes into it. And you'd be surprised that there are a lot of programs out there that do cater to minorities and especially for HBCUs.
So to that point, Ebony, I wanted to, so one of the questions for all the panelists is how you all funded your college experience. So Giselle said she was able to get a full ride and there were opportunities for international students. And she picked the best college. Can you talk about how you funded your college experience? Was it, a mix of, self-pay and loans? Was it grants? All of our guests can talk about it, but if we can start with you, Ebony, like how did you pay for college?
Yes, my new favorite word in 2021 is hybrid. So I would say it's definitely been a mixture from self-pay to I had a couple grants, a couple scholarships, amazing parents. So it was definitely, a combination of everything. And especially minimizing as much debt coming out of college. That was my parents' main focus. And so that was a huge blessing that we were able to come up with the plan that really was able to fund my entire college experience. So yeah, hybrid.
So it was hybrid. And then I'm going to go to you next, Erin, and then I'll stop with you, Benita, because you can talk about sort of what resources are available for college students applying. So Erin, how did you pay for college?
So similar to Ebony, a hybrid situation. I was an athlete in college, so I received a partial scholarship there. Also a partial academic scholarship, also great parents. So the college itself was pretty much taken care of and paid for, but in regards to the lifestyle outside of college, things that I wanted to do, go out with my friends, go out on the weekends, that's something that my parents were like, you got that. You can handle that on your own. So I knew I needed to do something on the side. My major was graphic design. I actually came into the university with my high school being a specialty school for graphic design. So I had a little bit of knowledge already. So a little side hustles here and there, flyers for parties and events on college, on the college campus and things of that nature. But what was really great that the University of Bridgeport had was a great advisory program. And it was actually a requirement to have an internship, or you had to do design service, which was a class in the university that you worked with a real life company and you put out real creative, which you didn't get paid for, but obviously you got your college credit for that class. But you had the option, if you were able to find an actual internship, you could replace that class with an actual internship. And if it was paid, great, and you got your college credit. So actually, Sora Helen Giles was the one who put me in touch with a creative director in the area who was actually looking for an intern to help with graphic design. So I took that opportunity and started interning with him a few days a week for a few hours. And he was great about realizing that even though you're interning with me and this is a learning opportunity, you are still creating work that I am essentially getting paid for. So he was great in that regard, knowing that I should be compensated for the work that I am doing, which I really appreciated. And that was unheard of for me. I was just happy for the opportunity. But when I heard that I was going to be making a little bit of extra money, that was amazing. So I would really stress that for people, even though, internships are a great opportunity and sometimes it's just about getting your foot in the door, realize your worth and realize what you are doing for the company, and know that you shouldn't be getting taken advantage of for the work that you are doing. And if they are getting paid for that work, they should be compensating you in some way. Some people can say that the compensation is you getting your college credit, which is true. But also I think it's great to have bosses or people who understand that, especially people starting out, need that little extra bit of financial help when they're in college. So that was a great opportunity for me.
Thanks, Erin. I want to come back to you at some point to talk a little bit more about internships. But before we do that, so Benita, if you can kind of just talk to us about, again, answer the question, how did you fund your college? You're a college graduate as well. How did you fund your college experience? And then can you just give some examples and some resources and some advice on how students can fund college today?
Definitely. Thank you again for having me here. I currently am a professor at the institution where I work at, SUNY FIT, and I am fortunate enough to also hold the role of college administrator. Throughout my time in higher education, I've worked in multiple offices, from career advisement, admissions, financial aid a little bit, student activities, and now I'm in academic advisement. And you'd be surprised how, even though I worked in all of those different offices, financial aid and paying for college and financing their lifestyles is always a conversation that I've had with college students in every single role that I've had. My personal experience, I funded my education through financial aid, through student loans, and through multiple positions and odd jobs all 4 years of college. But the fortunate thing for me was I found my passion in higher education through working in all those different positions. In every single office I could get into to find a position while I was working, just to fund my, like Erin said, like her going out and her budget to go to the movies or be out with friends. That's how I was able to finance that. And it just led, fortunately, to me finding my passion for higher education. Those odd jobs taught me that this is where I belong. So I just wanted to see, talk about how that transition truly helped me find my place in my career. In regards to financial aid, I always tell students the first step is definitely FAFSA. That application that is completed online, that most high school students complete even prior to graduating with their guidance counselors or with their parents. That's actually the first step for any form of financial aid. Every financial aid office is going to say, please complete the free application for financial aid through the government website. Sometimes you'll find different organizations, different companies that unfortunately take advantage of students and say, we'll do the application for you, and then they end up charging you. No, you always want to go to the website that has GOV at the end. It is the official website through the government that you can apply for financial aid on the federal level, and you can apply for financial aid on the state level. Every state has their own nuances and their own programs for students to apply. In addition to that, most, and actually going to say all financial aid offices at different college institutions, that's the first thing they look for. Once that application is complete, it takes on all the information that they would need, your income information in your household. Are any other students attending college within your household? How many dependents are in your household? How many parents or how many incomes are coming in? All of that is weeded out through that application so that financial aid advisors are able to see exactly what the financial picture is for you. And based on that, usually financial aid advisors will tell you the next steps. And you'll find that in most schools, yes, they are going to guide you towards the loan route. Many schools, as Erin said, that she was an athlete. Coaches and athletic programs always use their standing ground in being able to provide scholarships to students as a way to get student athletes on the campus. So that's definitely a plus. Academic programs, aside from the honor societies that offer scholarship programs, there are many programs that are now recruiting students also from the high school level. And the nuance is that it takes research. And many people wait until the last minute when you're about to go into college, when you're moving in and financial aid is calling you to start applying, and that is not the right time to do it. The research time is truly during the time that you're in high school. I was able to help some students throughout my time in higher ed, and even through my service with our sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, to help them even as freshmen in high school to start doing the research necessary to start finding these programs and these scholarships that are available to students. There's scholarships and programs for students for everything from their background. I know it comes off cliche, but there's a scholarship for left-handed students. There's so many out there, and you would think that you would only go to colleges to look these up. No, there are many corporate organizations, Greek letter organizations. There are private organizations that provide these scholarships. And the truth of the matter is that your responsibility as a student looking to finance your education is to start on the research. And there's many ways to do it. Through your high school, there's opportunities even if you are not affiliated with any organizations, through churches, through banks, through corporate organizations. And I could sit here and give you like website upon website upon website, but the honest answer is it's a matter of doing the research. Even through the FAFSA website, which it's technically, you could just type in FAFSA.gov, FAFSA.gov. There are so many different links that send you directly to scholarships, directly to grants. And you also want to learn the lingo when you're doing this research, right? A scholarship and a grant is money that is issued to you if you achieve the guidelines and the eligibility for it. It's basically money that you don't have to pay back. And we want to learn the difference between that and loans, because I found a lot of students that at the end of the day, when it's their exit interview for financial aid, they don't realize, oh my God, I thought this was taken care of. I'm not responsible for this. And they have to go back and realize, okay, I have a whole bunch of responsibility to take care of after I graduate. In addition to FAFSA grants, scholarships, and loans, um, in regards to finding positions and finding ways to make money while you're on campus, there's many resources within the campus. So, for example, as a student using financial aid, you're eligible for work study. And that program is done through the financial aid office, and they work with um, different departments within the campus so that you are employed and getting paid directly a paycheck for your services. Aside from that, departments hire on their own as well. You can always get a position as a part-time staff at any institution, and that's outside of work study for those students who do not receive financial aid and still need additional funds for financing. Another avenue for funding is your career services department. They're not there just for internships. They're also there to assist you in finding positions that you can be employed in while you're attending college. And these are companies that are vetted by the college, vetted by those career advisors, so they know that they're not taking advantage of students. Um, of course, as a student, even through high school, I worked through high school, and most college students do as well. You want to learn the vicinity of the college where you're attending and find out the opportunities outside of campus that would benefit you for employment. Uh, there's just so many different ways of doing it that at the end of the day, it all boils down to how much you want it. How much are you going to invest in yourself to go out there and research the opportunities that are available to fund your education and to put some money in your pocket while you're attending so you can make it to those parties and those events that you want to attend.
So what I heard you say, Benita, is start with FAFSA, and FAFSA is the application that we've talked about in some of our other programs with many of our college students through our Target One, which is hashtag CAP. Start with FAFSA. So FAFSA gives you access to federal student aid and state student aid, and those are
Correct.
typically grants.
Correct. They do have grants and loans. So
Okay.
the Pell Grant is the federal grant that is offered to students on a national level, and then
Okay.
states have their own version of their grants. So, for example, in New York State, it's called the Tuition Assistance Program, TAP for short. And these two grants have different criteria. So that's also part of learning the lingo, understanding, well, Pell doesn't necessarily say you need a full-time course load to receive funding, whereas New York State says, yes, you need a full-time course load to receive funding. So
Okay.
it's a matter of learning what is offered and what you can take advantage of from those programs.
Okay, got it. So start with FAFSA. That gives you access to federal and state aid. And then scholarships, that's just through your college, because there may be scholarships at your college awards, but then you should be doing research outside of your
Absolutely.
college to find resources for scholarships, which is private funding. So that could be, like you said, your church. It could be local organizations. It could be international organizations that award scholarship funding. I have to say that our sorority, as well as most chapters and our chapter specifically, we have a scholarship that we award to local Fairfield County students. So I encourage students who are listening or whose parents who are listening to go to our website to make sure that you have information on our scholarship, because every year we award scholarship funds to Fairfield County students. So
Can I just add one more thing? So another thing to think about is also educational opportunity programs.
Okay.
There's public and there's private ones. So, for example, the Educational Opportunity Program in New York State, it offers students who qualify up to 5 years of funding for school. They also assist with additional resources when it comes to academic needs as well. So even in a quick Google search, educational opportunity programs, They can guide students. Sometimes they guide students from high school all the way throughout their graduation and college. That's another way to find financing as well as additional resources for students who need them.
Okay, and we're going to drop some links into our Facebook feed with some of these resources. There were also some other resources for scholarships that have been shared in some of our other programs that were not live programs, that these were programs that had a smaller audience, but we do want to share these resources with you. So later on in the program, stick around. We're going to share some of these resources for funding your college tuition. That kind of brings me to the next question that I want to throw out to all of our panelists. Jobs in college. Erin, we're going to get to you and talk about internships because I'm very interested in internships and the role that internships played in your career. And I think it will be good information to share with our audience. But I want to talk about jobs in college and some of the jobs that you all had in college that kind of gave you walking around money, or if it was your side hustle. One of the topics today was side hustle. Can you guys talk about, jobs you've had in college? And let's see, who wants to go first? Yes, Benita, tell us, what kind of jobs did you have in college?
Okay, so I preface this with saying I am 5'2". I was, when they do parties and events on campus that they have like security working, patting people down to go in and working security and inside. So for 3 years, I was in charge of the entire security team. Tiny little mighty me in the front. But I didn't get to go to the college parties, but I partied off campus with the money that I made on campus, right? And that gave me so much valuable experience, from managing an entire team of students to managing the back end of an event, the security, working with university police, working with administrators. So much valuable skills that I learned in that position. Aside from that, I worked in the financial aid office. I worked in EOP office. I worked in student activities. I managed like our Ratskeller where they had games and activities on campus. And these are positions I held throughout the different 4 years, but they helped me make my pocket money. I got to know so many different things around the campus. People got to know who I was, and that opened doors for opportunities for mentorship. I ended up having the director of student activities be my mentor and help me and guide me throughout my experience in higher education. Right now, he's the dean at the organization that I work at now. So you, aside from money, you learn so many different skills. You make those networking and those mentoring relationships that are going to help and guide you throughout not just your college education, but even after.
So you heard it first. Benita was a bouncer, and as a bouncer, she learned about event planning. So there's something to learn at every job. So 5'2", Benita as a bouncer. Who else? Can you guys talk about some of the jobs you guys had in college? Erin.
I just wanted to speak on like these jobs. You just want to make sure, because college is a new time for a lot of people, and sometimes it could be overwhelming. So one of the main things that I was like, okay, I know I need to make money because I want to be able to go to parties and stuff like that. My parents aren't going to give me the money to do that, but I also don't want to overextend myself and spread myself too thin, and make sure that I'm still staying on top of my studies because I'm an athlete and I have to have a certain GPA, and just because my parents will want me to have a certain GPA anyways. So work study, I also did work study, but I chose work study jobs that allowed me to stay on top of my studies. So the monitor in the computer lab, staying there from on a Sunday from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m, just in the computer lab, monitoring the labs, making sure who's coming in. But that entire time I'm doing my homework, you know what I mean? So that was super important to me, that I want to make money, but my main priority was obviously school first and then being an athlete second. So I had to make sure it all worked for me. I also had my coach, who was the head coach of the gymnastics team at University of Bridgeport, was also the head coach at Chelsea Piers and was able to get all of his gymnast coaching jobs at Chelsea Piers. So we took advantage of that, and we're able to get a little bit of extra money there. But it was all, you have to make it work for you, and you just have to make sure you're not spreading yourself too thin.
That's great advice. I love the idea of doing something where you can do your homework while you're there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Was that a work study job, Erin, or was that just a job that you got on campus?
It was a job that I got on campus through like in my specific major. Like it was the computer labs within the design department. So
Okay.
I spoke with the advisor and asked if they had any opportunities that way. And they said they needed a person to monitor the labs certain days. And I knew so many people who, everyone was always trying to get the Sunday job, because what else are you doing on a Sunday? Church and then homework. So everyone was trying to get that Sunday job. So it was a really good opportunity, and it was a good thing right before the start of the week too. I felt prepared to go into the start of the week. All my work was done, making a little bit of extra cash. So.
Okay. And Benita, really quickly before we move on to Ebony and Giselle to talk about their jobs in college, can you explain what work study is, and is work study part of something that is part of your financial aid award?
Absolutely. So through the federal financial aid program, there is something called work study. So students can get paid. There is a maximum amount of hours. I believe it's 20 hours per week. And all the positions tend to be on campus, but they do make exceptions for off-campus positions. Usually they are administrative positions within different departments, or they can be front desk positions in different areas of the college. And that is vetted through the Office of Financial Aid because it's financed through the federal program. And again, this is an opportunity for the campus to be able to fill positions. It's an opportunity for students to remain on campus and not be out of campus. And all the positions definitely revolve around the student schedule. Usually students get to make up their own schedule and decide what hours would be best for them. And students can also vet and choose which positions would be of interest to them on the campus.
Thank you, Benita, for that explanation. So Ebony and Giselle, can you guys give us an idea of what types of jobs did you guys have in college that kind of gave you pocket money?
Sure. It's funny because in high school, I had several jobs. Like I worked for Aldo, and then I worked for a company that's well known in Connecticut called Ability Beyond Disability. And those two jobs kind of carried over into college life. When I came home from college during breaks, I would go and was able to work at the mall at Aldo, or I was able to pick up a couple shifts at Ability Beyond Disability. And all of that was cool. Knowing that I was going to school for business, I knew that those jobs wasn't necessarily setting me up for my career per se, but I did enjoy them. But then I went off to college at Hampton in Virginia, and I did find out about a company actually through Craigslist. And when I think back on it, I think that is so funny. But it was a menswear marketing or merchandising company. And so here I am, this freshman and sophomore, going to travel around to different malls within Virginia as a merchandiser for this company that was housed mainly in Macy's. It was called Henry Jacobson, which I think they're gone out of business now. But I say that to say that it was funny because this was kind of an older people position or older person's position. And here I am, this freshman and sophomore in college, and I'm coming into these stores representing this brand. And so many of the employees that worked at Macy's were, kind of on edge and kind of nervous whenever I would come in. And I picked up on that kind of quickly. I was like, wow, I'm kind of like a boss around here. I thought that was just kind of cool. They never knew how old I was or, what I was really doing. And to be honest with you guys, sometimes I would just go there. I made sure that our merchandising stuff was set up, and then I would go and walk around the mall. I was just doing whatever. But I loved kind of like that feeling of like wow, she's running things around here, right? So, and in the same time frame, I learned kind of how to do hair. Like I knew a little bit about hair in high school, but never was it like this dream of mine to be a hairstylist or anything like that. So when I went off to college, my parents were like, look, you have this cool little job that's paying your money, or, you know, paying you good money, you know, from, like Aaron was saying, you know, that's your fun money. You need to go ahead and, you know, take care of all the extra things that you want to do. We've got the college stuff, but you need to be able to fund your own stuff, right? So Henry Jacobson, I ended up leaving that job. And then I decided, I'll take some clients on campus. You know, at this time, YouTube was starting to become huge. So I learned a lot of things from YouTube University in terms of hair. And when I think back on it, really, I was messing up some people's hair, y'all. Like, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I was making money. And the more and more I researched it, and I knew that I was in school for business, and I researched more and more in the beauty industry, I realized this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So I said, maybe I can be a boss within the hair industry, you know? So I started at my own company on campus with a colleague of mine. It was called Parallel. And so from there, we started doing like competitions within the university. We started a program where we were offering hair services to the dance team and the cheerleading team. And it just kind of like spiraled from there. We did Hampton's first hair show on campus. And so each of those steps just kind of led me into the career I'm in now. And so, yeah, that's kind of how my hair career kind of started. So
that's a really cool story, Ebony. Can you, so you started doing hair, was it just for fun or was it just to make a little extra money and you saw the opportunity?
It was kind of for fun. To be honest, no, let me go back. It was initially for survival because my parents told me that they were not going to be paying for me to get my hair done. And I had always been used to going to the salon every couple of weeks. So now I'm in this school that, you know, they really, you know, value how you look, you know? And so now I'm like, I can't go and get my hair done. So even though I was making good money at the other company, it wasn't quite enough to fund all of the fun stuff I was trying to do. So it was kind of like, oh, maybe I can do my own hair. So the more I would do my own and girls would compliment me, I said, oh, I could do yours too. No, good and well, I didn't know what I was doing because I barely pieced mine together. And then they liked it. Like when I look back, I'm gonna have to share some pictures with you guys because I'm like, but they liked it back then, you know. So then I was able to charge them a little money here and there, and it just really spiraled into a business.
Wow, that's an incredible story. So you heard it. So it turned into something of survival. Ebony was doing her own hair. She was her own model, and that's how she got clients. And then she built a business around that while she was in college. And so that's to kind of give you some ideas of things that you all can do to start building a business around something you're good at or something you're learning while you're in college. Giselle, that brings me to you. If you can talk a little bit about jobs you had in college, if you had any jobs in college. I know that you just graduated, but we could also talk about sort of you launching your business in college and, you know, finding funding for that.
Yeah, sure. So it's a bit different for me in terms of what was available to me. So as an international student, the type of visa that you come on, you're only allowed to do what's related to your major. And outside of that, you can do something that's not related to your major, but it has to be on campus. But typically at our school, like on-campus jobs flew in the blink of an eye, like even as the semester started. So that was never an option for me in terms of having like easier odd jobs, like just working at a library or doing something like kind of easier. Yeah, unfortunately. But that speaks more towards what Benita was saying in terms of being able to do the research. I had to get proactive, and I had to, especially being in what she said in terms of the opportunities for the vicinity of the university as well. I was in Washington, D.C., so a number of the internships required citizenship because of, you know, like just all sorts of like security stuff, normal like government DC stuff. So that was a bit more limited as well. So I had to get really creative And so I just had to go outside of school, join other external organizations like an astrophysics organization that I was a part of that I was always interested in, and I was able to do research abroad in India for the first time for the first summer that I was at school. Again, I did more research because I was always interested in international travel as well, but I wasn't taking no for an answer, even though I was like broke as hell. And so I did research for a scholarship program to go to South Korea and study and do an internship there at the same time in quantum science. Yeah, so I was always just researching, talking to as many of the connections that I had, both within schools, through professors that I knew, like, hey, like, I'm trying to work this summer. Do you know of any internship programs that will accept international students? As well as just, I mean, it sounds a bit simple, but I mean, I think for my generation, like if you don't know something, the first thing you're thinking of is Google. It works with any opportunities that you're trying to get in life as well. Don't be afraid to like Google internships near me, blah, blah, blah. Like there's no shame in doing that. And most of the time, that's how I find any opportunity that I'm trying to search for that I don't see right in front of me in on TV or in a newspaper or whatnot. So that's how I found my opportunities. I also say that realistically, I know we're talking a lot about like funding like your own activities and like going out, which is absolutely true. But even if like outside of that, I would say internships themselves at this point, they're more of a need than something that you can decide as to whether or not you want to do. They're absolute, even at the university level, companies, when they're hiring for internships, a lot of them would prefer to see that you did an internship before, or you have some sort of experience doing some sort of work outside of a classroom. So they don't just want somebody who is just in the classroom and then you go back to your dorm and then that's it. It's the same versatility thing that got you into university in the first place. Universities wanted to see that you're in some extracurricular. Companies want to see that you're in some sort of extracurricular, whether it's you're in an actual society or you actually have some sort of work experience as well. And I personally know somebody who had an issue getting an internship because she didn't have any sort of internship experience when she was at a certain point in university. They were like, "But you're a junior, you should have more experience." And it kind of seems backwards, but that's just how the world works. And we try to play by the rules of the game until we can change them for ourselves. In terms of starting Life Hacks 101, so that happened in the pandemic. I had like a number of, we all had extra time to think to ourselves what we're really doing with our lives. And I started thinking more about, okay, I'm gonna graduate soon. I need to start preparing myself, like really fully preparing myself to be an adult and be off on my own. What is that I don't know? I need to start thinking about credit cards and other things, just in terms of being able to properly make a good meal for myself outside of macaroni and cheese, like life skills overall, that weren't really emphasized. And I was saying, I wish there was some sort of platform for this where you could just focus on life skills and you could have that outlet, like as much as they emphasize mathematics and other things that you're learning about. So that's how my journey with my company started. And in terms of participating in business competitions and how I learned about them, again, honestly, I didn't know much about it, so I just Googled it. I Googled it and I found a number of resources on student competitions, and I just tried my hat at a bunch of them. And I could say that my success in the National Students Entrepreneur Summit with our good friend Lorene, that was, I can honestly say that that was the only success that I had because I applied to a bunch and the rest of them were all rejections. So it's the same old story with, if you get a rejection, just put it in the hat as one of many and move on and try your hand again, because you have to believe that you're going to succeed as a truth, not a possibility. You have to see it as happening, and you just need to keep trying to get from this point to your future self that's in that success that you want. So that's how it happened. And I also say that you can also reach out to your school, because sometimes you don't think of your school having as other resources that you don't really hear so much about, like student entrepreneurship. So back then, I would say I should have thought about reaching more out to the business school, or just speaking to other professors that I knew well, like, hey, do you know of anybody who can help me with like developing this idea, or any advice that you have? A lot of people just have good advice that they can tell you to, maybe you should think about so and so, and then that could lead to something bigger. So that's how I found out. That's my journey in terms of searching for resources on business competitions. Now, I'll tell you to look out for the next round of the National Students Entrepreneur Summit on the Business Arsenal with Lorraine. There's also a number of others that you can look into. I know of, just off the top of my head, the Delta Fellowship. There's one called Future Founders Fellowship. Just look these up. And there's a number of others that also focus on students with HBCU backgrounds and just all sorts of backgrounds as well. So there's a number of them out there, and I can tell you it's probably only when you start looking for something you realize just how many there are out there that you didn't realize before.
So clearly there's no way for you to get access to internships or to get access to scholarships without doing research. So I think that that's one of the things that we want to belabor, that we want to encourage. Ebony, yes.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but to just piggyback off of what Giselle said, that is so true. Like, Google will be your best friend when it comes to funding your college career and even your professional career. That may be another topic for another discussion, but you'd be surprised like how many companies may have small scholarships that they would award you. And it could be something as simple as write an essay or just fit a certain criteria. And it may be something as low as $500, maybe able to get, $1,000. But if you apply to each of those, they add up. And they can come in the form of scholarships or grants. And like I said, for both your academic career as well as your professional career, there's so many different funding options out there. Another site that I've used for my businesses, I'm not sure if they have any for colleges, so this may be jumping the gun, but helloalice.com, that's another great resource, that there's so many micro funding options that you don't have to pay back.
Hello Alice. Okay, so we'll have to share Hello Alice and our resources in the chat. Erin, I was really, really intrigued when you were talking about an internship being part of your program, and how you used an internship really to sort of start your career while you're in college. Can you talk about how that worked, how your program even allowed you to have a paid internship? So you were getting money and college credits. I'm just curious. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. No problem. So the program that I was in, I majored in graphic design, minored in mass communication. And I knew, one of the things that I wanted to do right out of college was start my career. I wanted to get a job upon graduation, because mainly I wanted to stay in Connecticut. And my parents said, if you weren't gonna get a job, then you come home. So I was quick to want to take the route of finding an actual internship as opposed to doing design service, which I said was similar to an internship, but inside of a classroom setting. And that some of the days of the week we would actually go to the company and do work for them and provide work for them. But ultimately it was a class. But you had the opportunity to opt out of that design service class, and if you found another internship that fit the requirements of the class. So using my networking through the sorority, I was put in touch with a creative agency that was super close in the area in Shelton, Connecticut. And they were obviously going to fill out the application or the paperwork that I would get my credit. But the person that I was working for was very had a very strong feeling on being compensated for the work that you were doing as well. So he was able to, 1099 me, or, get me all the paperwork I needed so that, and he was just a great mentor as well. He let me know, you're going to get 1099, so you're going to get being paid, but you're not getting, taxes aren't going to be taken out of this. So make sure you're putting some of it away so that when you are 1099 at the end of the year, I want you to understand this process so that when you do get into the working world, it isn't a shock for you. And I want you to know that you're getting money, but, some of this is you're going to have to put away in savings and stuff like that. So just great to find through throughout your college experience, whether that's within the campus or in the internship that you are going to. But my main goal was to make sure I found a job outside of upon graduation. So I was really lucky that internship that I had my senior year actually did turn into a full-time opportunity upon graduation because of the work that I had put in. And I showed myself as a valuable asset to their team as an intern, that he wanted to continue. I wanted to continue working there upon graduation. So it kind of jump-started my career in that regard.
Good. I think that internships are very important. Obviously, we heard Giselle talk about how she was able to research and find internships that were paid, that were abroad. So it contributed to her international experience. We heard Erin talk about how internship was part of her program. She was able to not only find a mentor through her internship, but it actually was able to land a full-time job upon graduation from college. So I think internships are very important. We're going to drop a few internship resources into our chat for students. I know when I was in college, I did a program called En-ROADS. I'm very excited to see that En-ROADS is still around. And it was awesome because not only did I get a job that was paid, and all of the great things that come from an internship, but I also got to build a network of other young professionals or other young college students who later became young professionals, and a lot of them I'm connected to this day. So we're going to drop En-ROADS into the comments, as well as SEO, which is another program similar to En-ROADS, which is specifically for students of color. And so I encourage you all to sort of follow up on those. I want to switch gears a little bit as we're coming to a close and kind of just give you all an opportunity to give some final thoughts on sort of paying for college and college finances 101, right? That was the topic of this. And so I want to give you guys an opportunity to just talk a little bit about sort of, what are the biggest takeaways you want to impart into our audience today on finances in college? And we can start with you, Benita, and then we'll go to Giselle, Ebony, and then Erin.
I think there's two aspects to this that I would say are important. The first is definitely the resources offered through programs and through grants and through federal and state and sometimes local county governments also offer opportunities for grants. And then the other part is thinking outside of the box. It's, like I said, researching, and it's something that Giselle said. She mentioned asking your institution, something you should know about every single institution, whether public or private. There is always funding in the back pocket for in case of emergencies. An emergency can be everything from, and I've experienced this with students that I've actually helped out, change in living situation, change in financial situation. Of course, these are things that would be documented, that you have to provide information to the college and, be transparent about them. But there are always opportunities. There's always, even in public institution, which I work for one, when Hurricane Sandy hit, and students lost everything, there was funding there to help them. And it exists. Like, it's a matter of asking and being adamant and advocating for yourself. So definitely the programs that are public and that are open to everyone, but it's also thinking outside of the box and speaking up for yourself and being creative in the ways that you find funding. And like some of the, for example, Ebony and Giselle, you went out and started your own. Um, that is the prime example of what I'm finding that a lot of students are doing now. Even students that meet with me on a daily basis have started these, huge companies while being on campus. Um, and through, for example, Giselle said the National Student Entrepreneur Summit. I was able to talk to students there and how you could use the resources that you even have on campus to fund and to bring in money into your business as a college entrepreneur. Um, it's a matter of thinking outside of the box, doing the research, and taking advantage of the things that are available to you as a public and from private entities.
Yeah, the number one thing that I say that I think you should take away from this is be proactive. That's a word that comes to mind for me. Just at this point in life, I think when you're growing older and you're at that weird in between of being still a child but almost an adult, you need to take those reins a bit more in terms of having a handle on your life, even if mommy and daddy are still helping you out with tuition and just life in general. I'd say be be proactive in terms of preparing yourself and knowing what you need to have. And so that's where the research really comes in, because you're taking that time to push forth that effort to see what you need to do. What's the number that's coming up for what you owe for whether it's tuition or room and board, and what you need to prepare yourself to get that money to get to that number. You also need to do your best to have some sort of emergency fund in case anything happens, which you can't really do as a student per se, but that is something that you need and as an adult. So trying to prepare and implement that as early as possible is always a necessary thing. And I know the pandemic has taught us all about what you need to have in terms of plans, in terms of emergencies. And so that's what I would say. Be more proactive in looking into what the next chapter of your life is going to be. And that's why all of those things in terms of research and just completing some sort of work experience in itself, which companies will need to see before you graduate anyways. So I'd say that's absolutely a need. Don't even think about it. You need to do it. It's not a thought, it's not an option. So that's why I want you to take away from this. Be proactive, start getting out there. If you don't see the opportunities in front of you, you need to start looking for it yourself.
Absolutely. Excellent advice, Giselle.
Yes, everyone, you all have brought up really great points. It's definitely starting early as you possibly can, especially because the cost for college changes. So, and as the years go on, you definitely want to be as prepared as you possibly can be. So doing your research, starting early, knowing about how much things cost. So if that means that you need to apply for funding that's this amount, or if you need to apply for funding that are micro and these amounts, whatever that looks like to you. But research and Google will be your best friend for sure.
Plug for Google. And Google is going to help us in our next program. So good plug. Erin, what final words would you like to impart to our audience?
So similar to what the other ladies have said already, what I say all the time is prep or fail. So, going into college, it's really important to just figure out what exactly you want to do and then prep for it. You can't go wrong with, doing your research, using the tools that you have, and just putting your best foot forward, and also networking when you can. Networking is what got me the work study job that I wanted on a Sunday, or networking is what got me, the internship because of through the sorority, working that as well, because your academics and being an athlete on college in college can take you very far, but you also need to network outside of your circles and figure out a way to your opportunities are endless when you kind of branch out. So I would definitely say to make sure you network while you're in college.
Thank you. So we have network. We have an network. And I'm not sure where that's coming from, but we have network, we have research, we have be proactive, and we have Google. So I just want to thank our guests for joining us. I'm going to invite our president to come back on. We are dropping also a link to the survey in the chat, and we're going to throw a QR code for the survey. Again, to our guests, you guys were amazing. I appreciate this lively discussion. I think we imparted some gems onto our audience today, and to those who come back later to watch this. So thank you again for your participation today. And I'm going to invite our president back into the studio to join us.
Well, I am the master dropping of information. So hopefully everyone has gathered the information. There's so much. Please come back to our site and visit. There's so much scholarship information and internship opportunities that have been dropped in the chat. So I strongly encourage everyone to come back, visit, share this with other students that share this with family and friends so they can get this critical information. Our panelists have been absolutely amazing in terms of sharing their experiences. It's been a very candid conversation. So I thank each of you for very candid conversations on your journey and how you made it through college, where you found funding, how creative you could be, how innovative you were. Congratulations to all those who were overachievers and started businesses in college. I think you're an overachiever. Benita, I guess if I ever need a bouncer, I know who to call too, right? So, and my hair done. So I got some skills. I got some graphics, I got some life hacks, I got a bouncer, and I can get my hair done. So as you can see, we can, as women, you all are definitely bosses, definitely in your different respective areas. I want to again echo our moderator, Conchita, and thank her for her work, and that this was HBCU week, and we highlighted we had a wonderful week, and this has been a great way to close it out. We've had 2 alumna join us today. You all can fight later about which one is the real HU. I'm not getting into that. So you all can have that out. So I thank you both for representing your universities wonderfully today. So I have dropped the survey in the chat of the Facebook Live. So I encourage everyone to please take just a moment and provide us some feedback so that we can continue to exemplify excellence and provide exceptional programs. And Conchita's put it on the QR, so you can grab your phone for all you highly digital folks and scan that and complete that survey. So I thank the committee once again, our Economic Legacy Committee, Target 4, which Valerie Adams Baker is the chair. Conchita serves on that committee as well. We've had an excellent program. I hope that everyone has a wonderful Saturday. Please come back and visit this program often. And that's it. So have a great afternoon. Thank you.